Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Chandra and I make videos about reading, writing, and all things books. Today's video is my Preptober Snowflake outline. I have talked a lot more about outlining this year because it's the first year that I've really focused on developing my skills in outlining. So I'm going to share the differences between when I first started outlining with the Snowflake method and now. The main thing is I don't use all of the Snowflake method. I'll have a video where I talk about the full method down below, but here is what I'm doing now. And it's really a bare bones part of the Snowflake method. The first thing that I do under character introductions is instead of just naming the characters, I'm actually writing out a little bit of detail about each character, which means each character gets one sentence, which doesn't go into physical description or anything like that. It gives a short bit about their background, so at a glance I know who they are and why they are in the story. For this, my main characters are Mildred, Emmett, Matthew, Susan, Herbert, Amos, Hazel and Isabel, and Oliver. Those are the characters that I have notes about. Hazel and Isabel are listed together because they're a couple. The second thing for Act 1 is the setting. And here I have the different cities that are included in the story and then a couple of specific locations in each of the cities. So that would include train stations and family home in one city, family home, the ex-husband's home, and a train station in another city, a club, different prominent buildings, and a couple of different homes. There's several characters whose homes we will see in the story, and I make note of that so I can further develop those locations. And the third thing is I make a note of what the inciting incident is, which is a couple moving to a new city. That concludes the outline for Act 1. For Act 2, I go through the obstacles. In this, I've changed the way that I outlined it, as in I list all the obstacles for the story, which means they're going to be introduced at that point. They don't all have to be resolved within Act 2, if that makes sense. Before, the way I wrote out my obstacles, I listed everything that needed to happen in Act 2 versus introducing the concept and resolving some things but leaving some others unresolved. The second part is rising in action. This is where I take some of the obstacles that were presented in Act 2 obstacles and I break them down and get a bit more specific as to how those change and evolve with the story. For number 3, I do the same thing, taking more of the rising in action moments and bringing them into the third part of Act 2 to escalate them further for the moment of truth. For Act 3, we start with the lead into the climax, where I'm taking what was left, the main points, and the biggest part of the story that I want to draw out, and I'm developing that. I've broken it out into several finer points which all feed into the main climax, which is the next step. And here I list out each of the big things that happen and give the story more direction towards how I would like it to resolve. For the third part of Act 3, which is the denouncement and resolution, I make notes about how I want things to wrap up, putting bows on everything, and then I can go back through each of the previous acts and look at what has been resolved, what hasn't been resolved, and make notes to make sure that I'm wrapping that up at the end of Act 3. I did make a note because this isn't specifically listed out in the Snowflake method, but I made an additional note of what I wanted in the epilogue. It isn't very long, I only have one sentence there, but I wanted to make sure that that came together the way I was seeing it in my mind. I don't usually do this, but I do plan on re-outlining. Because I did this all in September when I was procrastinating and not working on my September project, a lot of it is, I don't want to say rushed, but a little rushed. So I want to go back through it and refine some details of the storyline. I just felt like I needed to get it all out of my head and onto paper so that I could focus on some other things that I needed to be doing, which I should be doing right now. But let's pretend that it's not still September while I'm filming this and that it's actually October, shall we? So that is how I'm using the Snowflake method this time. I will do one more iteration, still using the Snowflake method. I'm going to refine it a little bit, clean it up, put some shine on it. And then I will break it out into a Google Doc and add a bit more detail in the Google Doc, which will serve as the draft that I write my full nano project in. So there you have it. Preptober Snowflake outlining, the updated version. I hope that this was helpful. Please let me know what you think in the comments. If you're doing something similar, different, how you're getting ready for Preptober. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.